everybody joining us today. I am just thrilled to kick off the second half of our summit today. By way of introduction, my name is Melody Chung, and I'm Senior Account Executive here in the Higher Education vertical at LinkedIn. And as Andy mentioned, I'm going to be walking you through a hypothetical student journey using Emily as our prospective student today. So you're going to hear a lot about our friend Emily. We will walk you through the evolution of Emily's LinkedIn behaviors and experiences on other platforms. Yes, we also talk about other platforms that influenced Emily's 60-day journey leading up to enrollment in a bachelor's program with an online school. I'm also going to be sharing with you some really interesting data points that we have gathered about this audience along the way. But before we dive in, a few moments ago, Andy asked you all to guess how many bachelor's candidates are on the LinkedIn platform. Based on your chat responses, it looks like there were lots of different guesses kind of all over the map, but roughly guesses around 150 million to 250 million. We had, I think, a winner for 800 million, which is larger than our LinkedIn membership. But hey, we're going to get there someday. Based on your guesses today, I think most of you will be really surprised about this number. The answer is, drum roll, 450 million bachelor's candidates are on the LinkedIn platform today. This massive number of bachelor's candidates represents over 2/3 of LinkedIn's global audience. So, and 100 million of those are in the US alone. So I'm feeling pretty confident that this probably myth busts some misconceptions that I've heard here and there that, LinkedIn doesn't have the reach for bachelor's candidates or isn't a good place for bachelors. And the reality is that the canvas is just really huge. It is also one of our more active audiences on LinkedIn. So it's for good reason. Bachelor's candidates are at a crossroads in their careers, and LinkedIn is an obvious destination for advancing their careers. So let's meet Emily. Emily has some college experience, but never finished her bachelor's degree. She is ready to take a serious step in her career, but she's stuck in a customer service role that she's not really happy with. She's at a fork in the road and realizes that getting a bachelor's degree is really what she wants to do in order to get where she wants to go. So Emily's journey starts with job searching. We know that bachelor's candidates are 74% more likely to be searching for jobs on LinkedIn within 60 days up to enrollment. So Emily goes on to LinkedIn, is looking for her ideal next role, and in this case, it's a marketing manager. She sees that the job description is exactly what she's looking for. The salary is in line with what she needs to accomplish her goals. But then she reads the educational requirements of about the job and the education that some of the other key candidates have, and sees that she's only in the 85th percentile of applicants. So it's at this moment that Emily realizes the importance of investing in her education if she's going to progress her career. So this is an important aha moment for Emily, but it's also the first data point that talks about an important signal Emily's behavior is sending to the higher education market. Emily's big spike in job search activity on LinkedIn within 60 days up to enrollment sends a signal to the market that she is on the precipice of a big career or education move in the coming days or weeks. And this is a signal that's truly LinkedIn, unique to LinkedIn. Now that Emily's in an increasingly aspirational mindset and is committed to advancing her career path, she adds a new daily habit of investing time on LinkedIn. Emily previously only came to LinkedIn around events or to do things like updating her profile, maybe look at short-term jobs and responding to connection requests. But now that she's focused on her education, she is 60% more likely to increase her LinkedIn feed engagement within 60 days of enrollment. This is another crucial sign to the market that Emily is getting increasingly serious about her career and her education. In turn, Emily's 23% more likely to improve her LinkedIn profile score by adding skills to her profile that match her desired career path. This also, in turn, raises her connection requests by 30%. So, like most LinkedIn users, Emily is spending the vast majority of her time in the feed. She invests time reading through relevant content or engaging in conversations with her network, and she comes across a sponsored video. This video is from Empire University, a hypothetical online school, but you're going to hear more about them later. Empire has targeted Emily with their video that promises to highlight a bachelor's degree with the flexibility and affordability that she needs. And it strikes a chord with Emily, who previously thought she just didn't have the time or money to finish her degree. Empire's brand name resonates with Emily because she had seen previous advertisements from them in the past year. So as John talked about before, in this case, Empire has built some mental availability with Emily by reaching her out to her before she was ever even in the funnel. So Emily watches the video and is curious to know more. Empire's really caught Emily in the exact right place and time on a platform where the content is additive to her experience, but not distracting. So Emily clicks through to Empire's university page and follows Empire. She also starts looking at Empire's alumni and starts viewing their profile pages. So it's with this experience that she really begins selling herself on going back to school and that she can do this. She is officially inspired by seeing other alumni that have taken similar paths to hers and gone on to finish their degree after several years into her career. This is another crucial sign that Emily is signaling to the higher ed market. Emily and millions of users like her are a whopping 96% more likely to view alumni profile pages leading up to enrollment. So in this case, Empire's alumni are really working as ultimate brand ambassadors. So now Emily is about 2 weeks removed from that initial decision to invest in her career and her education. She's really busy juggling her current job, her personal life, and her family. So she's enjoying some time on Instagram where she's viewing pictures from friends' vacations or watching cute puppies, my favorite activity on Instagram. And it's here where she starts to see other ads from universities, this time from Empire University as part of their retargeting strategy. It reminds her that she needs to keep discussing this vision for her education with her family. Emily's now another week or so out from her inspiration to think about school and has had multiple conversations with friends and family. And she's starting to get really more serious about her search. So she does a Bing search entitled Top Online Bachelor's Degree. Her curiosity is piqued by those Empire videos that she saw earlier. And now she wants to see what else is out there. She sees that there are a lot of options to consider. So she visits a few sites, looks through programs, gains a surface level of understanding of what various programs offer and their finances and flexibility as well. So now Emily is a few months into her journey. She logs back into LinkedIn and she gets an alert that she has a new message in her inbox. She doesn't get many, so she immediately checks it out. Because Emily is in an advanced aspirational mindset, she is 60% more likely to engage with that message ad versus the general LinkedIn population. She is really excited to see Empire in her inbox. She engages with their conversation ad, a popular form of a personalized message ad. It allows her to get a little bit more information about Empire's offerings. She's reluctant, though, to give out her phone number just yet. So she declines to fill out the final lead form and continues researching on her own. But a week or two later, Emily is now fully committed to going back to school and finishing that bachelor's degree. With branded search, Empire University on Bing, she submits her application there. Empire's admission counselor calls her immediately and walks her through the application process. Emily also does the same with 2 other schools that she's been considering. Finally, after months of deliberation and research, it's official. Emily enrolls with Empire University, the first school that got her attention early in the process and also before she was even in market. So congratulations, Emily. Emily's activity signals to the platform and to the market that she is now in market. Like many users like her, Emily chose LinkedIn for her career and her education hub. LinkedIn is ranked #1 for the third year in a row for the most trusted digital platform, but it's also where Emily feels safe participating. LinkedIn is also ranked as the top platform to further her education, tied with the Wall Street Journal. And it's no wonder, given the plethora of activity that's happening on the platform in terms of career networking, education research, and alumni connections. So now Emily is off and running, but throughout the process, she has left important signals throughout her student journey. In review, because LinkedIn was Emily's education hub through the process, we know that she is more likely to job search, to engage in her LinkedIn feed on a daily basis, to view alumni profiles of the schools that she's researching, and to open message ads more frequently from schools that reach out to her. These are all signals that are truly unique and innate to LinkedIn. So ultimately, Emily has a high propensity to enroll, to graduate, and to do so in 25% less time when LinkedIn was part of her journey. So ultimately, she's off and running. And now I'd like to pass over the presentation to my friend Trisha Wilson, who is going to tell us the other side of the story from Empire University's perspective. Trisha is going to show us all how we can capitalize on Emily's behavior. Over to you, Trisha.
Thanks, Melody. Hi, everyone. My name is Trisha Wilson, and I'm a Client Solutions Manager based in our New York office on the education team here at LinkedIn, where I consult with our clients on campaign strategy to help them reach their marketing and enrollment goals. Sorry. Now, I'm going to share with you the same story across the same timeline, but from the perspective of the school that Emily selected, Empire University. Just like with Emily, the school is hypothetical, but the situation and the data is real. I will be sharing how we partnered with Empire to evolve their marketing strategy to improve their return on ad investment and ultimately enroll more students. Let's learn a bit more about Empire. Like many of our university partners, they had an unprecedented fiscal year 21. With a potential recession on the horizon, they saw a big boost in engagement as people invested in learning about education opportunities. However, a few months later, marketing performance plummeted. Andrew Crisp discussed this earlier, and we know that competition for online education substantially and suddenly expanded. This threw off Empire's marketing strategy. They began to see organic volume and branded search leads drop. Search also became more competitive and expensive, and they began to have concerns with how iOS 14 would impact their strategy. With competition being more intense, they realized they needed to get in front of prospects earlier in the process. Let's talk more about how we strategize with Empire to do this. Now, if we think back to Emily's journey prior to enrolling at Empire, it looked something like this. And we can see that she had multiple interactions with Empire's brand along the way. But when Empire looked at their enrollment data, all they saw was this. In order to influence prospective students earlier, we needed to illuminate what happened prior to this last action. Then we could build a marketing strategy that would meet prospective students earlier and follow them down funnel. Let's review some of the adjustments that we helped Empire make to their marketing mix. We needed to address their reach as they had seen decreases in branded search and organic lead volume decline. They agreed to try shifting brand budget that was normally used for TV to LinkedIn. Afterwards, we partnered with Nielsen to analyze the results and found that Empire increased reach by 33% amongst their ideal target audience. Previously, Empire believed that TV was the cheapest way to reach individuals at scale. But oftentimes when someone is watching TV, they aren't thinking about their education or their career. After shifting brand budget to LinkedIn, they realized they could not only reach their audience in the right mindset, but also reach a more accurately targeted audience while still seeing efficient volume. After the success of this initial test, Empire launched an always-on video campaign to introduce their brand to the over 100 million prospective bachelor candidates in the US on LinkedIn. They were able to leverage existing YouTube assets, making the execution simple. This helps them get in front of qualified prospects much earlier in the process. We heard this earlier, but it's a good reminder that people are only going to get one bachelor's degree. So there can be a lifetime of building preference, but only a short timeline to be in their consideration set. When we think back to Emily's story, we saw that once she had her short list of schools, she began diving into their university pages and alumni profiles on LinkedIn. Empire's brand video helped them make her shortlist. And then we helped Empire better understand their alumni demographics and boosted their top performing organic posts to a similar audience across the platform. We also saw Emily receive a direct message on LinkedIn, providing her with helpful additional information about the next step of getting her degree from Empire. Empire was able to achieve this by sending message ads to their engagement and website retargeting audiences. So once Emily visited their website, she received a direct message from Empire that lived in her LinkedIn inbox for the next 30 days, a consistent reminder of what an Empire degree has to offer her. And lastly, we also wanted to help Empire uncover the journey that prospective students are taking. We paired Empire's data with our data at LinkedIn to help uncover just how LinkedIn was playing a crucial role, all the way from initial engagement through enrollment. What we found is that there was a 24% increase in lead to application rate when a member engaged with both brand and direct response content from Empire on LinkedIn. Now, we know every platform can show you incrementality, but we believe that LinkedIn engagements are worth more than other channels based on the mindset and the focus of our platform. LinkedIn leads are more likely to enroll, more likely to graduate, and more likely to become outstanding alumni. Now I want to close out with a real case study from the largest online school in Australia, Charles Sturt University. They implemented a very similar full funnel strategy on LinkedIn. After 18 months, they saw a 42% decrease in average cost per impressions, a 273% increase in their engagement rate, and a 56% decrease in cost per start of application. Closing out, we know that LinkedIn is a targeted, cost-efficient way to reach your prospective students. By leveraging demographic and retargeting capabilities, we can deliver the right message at the right time along the student journey. And lastly, engagement with LinkedIn during the student journey will result in better student outcomes. Now that we've reviewed Empire's side of the story, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Andrea Campbell, and she's going to share how we can deepen our partnership through measurement.
Thank you, Trisha, and hello, everyone. I'm Andrea Campbell, and I lead our newly formed Measurement Analytics Partners team, or MAP team, as we are often referred to. The MAP team is formed to be the internal and external ambassadors of all onboarded LinkedIn measurement solutions, but also to keep our ears to the ground for potential net new solutions and improvements. We were also formed to create scaled measurement solutions, and on the opposite end of that, to work with top clients to build out learning plans, meeting on a cadence basis with those clients to discuss progress and new remedies, and ultimately be in a place where we can build white-labeled case studies of client success, with your permission, of course. So net-net, the MAP team, in collaboration with the greater customer science organization, assist our internal stakeholders and customers in how to best leverage measurement partners. We together truly are the drivers of the so what. So specific to our Empire partnership, Trisha brought me in to evolve their measurement strategy with the aim of helping Empire accrue more performance data to make smarter marketing decisions and establish KPIs and ROI metrics more in line with their business. So let's first summarize Empire's challenge. The marketing team is feeling increased pressure to show results ASAP with Empire's business struggling lately. Specifically, they had to make marketing decisions when they had little performance data beyond just last click and no third-party partnerships relying on Google Analytics and CRM data. Because of increased pressure from leadership, budget allocation decisions have been based on short-term KPIs and not ROI. Trisha brought me into the conversation at this point to help their marketing and leadership team understand the importance of basing marketing decisions on outcomes, not only indicators of outcomes, and then also build a plan to accrue more performance data and an action plan based on those results. Empire's marketing team, of course, isn't alone with feeling the pressure to show marketing results in a shorter time frame than the sales cycle. 77% of marketers measure return during month 1 of the campaign, which is hardly any time to see even directional results. And 55% of those marketers fit into that bucket we discussed earlier, where they have sales cycles of 6+ months. Lastly, and sadly, for measurement geeks such as myself, only 4% of marketers even measure ROI beyond 6 months, at which point they've already moved on to the next thing, the next campaign, the next ask, the next problem to be solved. So a great word to describe this is dissonance, but the good news is that there is a way forward. So I think a great way of looking at the differences, wrong slide, there we go, is if we look at this in terms of a book. So KPIs are like a synopsis of what happens after each chapter to help paint a picture of the ending, whereas ROI summarizes what happens for the entire story. KPIs are directional or forward-looking and can help us predict our end performance, and ROI is backwards-looking and can inform future decisions. So considering what Trisha uncovered and already shared, we worked with Empire to establish answers to these key questions. How can we improve Empire's reach to maximize both efficiency and relevance? Why are they converting less interested prospects to leads compared to years past? And why have Empire's lead to app rates dropped? Based on those business challenges and questions, we worked together to build a phased measurement plan, which is critical, as we wanted to ensure that we were looking at the right metrics at the right time. We created a set of KPIs in line with our goals, giving Trisha and their marketing team multiple indicators of future outcome success and the ability to optimize tactics within the program. We then built multiple ways to determine ROI based on last click attribution, multi-touch attribution, incrementality, use of mixed media modeling or MMM. So now going back to our book metaphor, Empire, through our KPI plan, knows what's happening after each chapter, indicating what will happen at the end of the book. So they'll now be able to see a full story. This slide here shows a few examples. It's starting with Empire's usage of LinkedIn's brand lift. So this native in-tool capability gave Empire an understanding of how students perceive their brand, how Empire's message is influencing that perception, and how it's impacting future consideration of the university. So calling back a theme from John Lombardo, whom you met earlier in this presentation, Empire knows about 95% of their potential students are out of market at any given time. They know it's crucial to reach and influence prior to them entering the in-market phase to have a chance at being in their consideration set. These KPIs helped show us if we were on the right path to impacting future outcomes. And then here's another way we helped Empire develop an indicator of success. So Empire long held the idea that TV delivered the most efficient mass reach. We partnered with Nielsen to execute a share shift analysis to understand efficiency of reach relative to other platforms. And the Nielsen study examined 4 scenarios, which showed that as Empire's investment on TV decreased and investment on LinkedIn increased, there was a substantially lower cost per unique thousand within the target of adult learners without a bachelor's degree, and the shift yielded 33% more efficient reach. And so this is without even considering accuracy of reach, LinkedIn versus TV. Now let's move closer to ROI and outcomes. By leveraging LinkedIn's offline conversions capabilities, Empire is able to measure actions not tracked online, look at down funnel conversions attributed to influence of LinkedIn campaigns, create return on ad spend or ROAS models using revenue, one, and deal values, and to better understand cross-campaign influence, i.e. Empire's video campaign impact on message ads, DR campaigns. So setup is simple. They connected their CRM with our campaign tool to make for easy upload to their files. Now we're at the final phase of showing ROIs. Trisha already showed LinkedIn's uniquely impactful incrementality. These 3 data points reflect 3 separate mixed media modeling studies with online schools. All 3 are in line with what we routinely see from MMM or MTA studies. With the power of LinkedIn's audience, data, and user mindset, these schools are seeing substantially stronger outcomes. And I'll close with this timeline of Empire's measurement plan, which features both LinkedIn native solutions as well as third-party solutions such as Moat and Nielsen to add additional context and color. And a few things here. It is important to understand that this was phased. Empire didn't unlock all of these at once. Also, hypothetically, there is no guarantee we can bring in all of our third-party partners, right? It's a matter of inputs, it's feasibility, it's consensus, of course, with the client. And what it does show, though, is that it's a great example of how our team can help build a long-term measurement plan, accruing crucial performance data, both indicators and outcomes. And then lastly, because my team is newly formed, I wanted to share who we are and how our team is structured. So you will see many of their lovely faces here. We do have 3 very early newbies who aren't shown on this org chart, and we are growing. I won't go into detail of each person's role. However, I'd like to specifically call out Diana, who is dedicated to your vertical, EDU, and will hopefully be a more familiar face for many of you moving forward. So to reiterate, my team's objectives in a nutshell are strategic guidance on measurement with both internal solutions and third-party partnerships, and to collect feedback from our partners to inform measurement product direction and investment. So with that, I'll send a very big thank you to everyone who is attending today. And at this point, I'll bring Andy, not to be confused with Andia, back to close us out. Over to you, Andy.
Thank you, Andia. Excellent. Thank you, all 3 of you, for taking us through that example with Empire. We have some good questions related to these 3 presentations. Let's jump into a few. So first one, Andia, actually came up and was related to your team. So how can our clients think about getting a learning plan set up with your team?
Awesome question, because it seems very much so that there was a lot that was put into that example that we just showed, and there was, but we try to keep it as easy and as simple as possible. So we think of it in a 4-step process. So the first one is really about discovery and prioritization. We meet with the clients along with our account executive partner over at LinkedIn, and we have a conversation about media objectives, about business objectives, what current stacks might look like. And from there, we take that information and we have a meeting of the minds, if you will, and truly think about what those right solutions are for a given client. It's very much so a consultative process where we come back to you with a solution set. We've got to talk about what works for you, what inputs you can help provide. And then step 3 is really the execution of it all. And that's when we get our data inputs. We make sure that things are operating accordingly. And then last but not least, there's an evaluation stage. And within that, we're measuring, we're optimizing, and we're having conversation along the way with our clients. So at the end of the day, I think measurement sometimes is a scary place, a scary topic, but we try to keep it friendly and we try to keep it simple, but also successful.
Excellent. Okay, that's a great overview and a lot for our clients to think about in partnering with our team. Next one here is probably a good one for you, Trisha, maybe a little bit more CSM focused around the full funnel strategy and the need to create a lot of creative to go along with that. What tips do you have on how to get started in developing that creative?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say typically clients actually have way more creative assets that are applicable than they realize. So for both video and standard sponsored content, you're able to use square, landscape, and vertical specs for them. So typically you can take your assets from Facebook, YouTube, other channels, and they should work just fine. The one ad format that sometimes clients may not have would be message ads, since they may not be running those likely anywhere else. But we have a ton of resources. So if you reach out to your account team, we can get you set up with best practices and sort of guide you through what those should look like and how you can easily create them.
Perfect. Gotta love the message ads. The LinkedIn inbox is definitely one of a kind. That is a shameless plug. Last one is I'm gonna give this one to you, Melody, just to kind of round things out here. So help us understand how we can better interpret our alumni representation on LinkedIn.
Yes, that's a great question because the importance of alumni as those brand ambassadors is very high, as we talked about. So I would say that the best way to do that is to get really familiar with your own company's page on LinkedIn. I'm sure marketers on the line are definitely in there in their own company page, but go to your company page and check out the alumni tab, and that alumni tab will really help you to understand high level insights about your alumni. So, what have alumni in the field accomplished, and how can your own students essentially help to talk to either current students in the form of one to many, directing your actual students to the alumni pages to read about what successful alumni have done. You can see what companies they work for, where they live, what kind of degrees they got, and essentially go into people's profiles. And then it's a great way also for prospective students to just understand mentorship opportunities or partnerships. From a branding perspective too, as Trisha talked about, you can target by company page engagement as well, which definitely is something that we see with the activity in the alumni pages.